Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be filming a book recommendation video. Now I'm not sure if I've actually ever done a book recommendation video like this, so I'm super excited to get started. This one, I'm going to be talking about books that I think are perfect for spring. I tried to find some that are like less well known, but obviously I have a couple of like super popular books. So I hope that you enjoy. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Lost Story by Meg Shaffer. Now I have talked about this book extensively on this channel. I adore this book. This is a god tier book for me. The Lost Story tells the story of a girl named Emily who has a missing sister, and her sister went missing in this forest many years ago. Now it's present day. Enter Emily going after these two characters named Jeremy and Rafe. Now, Jeremy and Rafe used to be lost in the same forest that her sister is lost in. So she recruits them to help her find her sister in this missing forest. This book is excellent because of the forest and because of the world that this book takes place in. I think that this book is perfect for spring. It is so springy. It's kind of giving fairy tale, and I feel like because of the fairy tale vibes of this book, that is why I think this one is perfect for spring. I highly recommend this one. The next book I want to talk about is The Neighbor Favor by Kristina Forrest. For me, romance is the most perfect genre to read in the spring. It just feels springy to me. And The Neighbor Favor was an excellent book. The Neighbor Favor tells the story of Lily, and Lily has dreams to be a children's author. However, she has been writing nonfiction for what seems like forever, and because of this she finds a way to escape, and her escape is through messaging her favorite author who wrote this fantasy series that she's absolutely obsessed with, until he ghosts her. Completely ghosts her. This fantasy author is nowhere to be found. Then months pass and she needs a date to a wedding, and she meets this man named Nick. Only Nick is an author, her favorite fantasy author. Things go uphill from there. Obviously, there's a lot of tension because there is the miscommunication trope in this, but I think it's done so well. It is just such a good book. It's so fun. I highly recommend it. And actually the next book that I'm going to recommend is the second in that series, and that is The Partner Plot, also by Kristina Forrest. This one is so cute. It's a second chance romance, marriage of convenience. So basically this tells the story of Violet, who just broke up with her ex-fiance, and Violet is like a fashion designer, she's a stylist. So she is always going on trips. And one day she goes to Las Vegas where she runs into her ex. And when she's there, they end up partying all night long, and eventually they get married to kind of get back at her ex-fiance. And so this tells that story, and it is so good. It's a really fun one, and Second Chance isn't always my favorite, but this one was just done so well. I highly recommend it. Next, I'm going to talk about a book that is near and dear to my heart, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this book, but if you haven't, you absolutely need to give this book a try. I adore this book. It is everything to me. TJ Klune is one of my favorite authors of all time. The House in the Cerulean Sea tells the story of Linus, who works for a department that takes care of magical children. And he is like a super curmudgeonly man who just like wants to fade into the background, doesn't really want to do much. But then his life changes when he is sent to this island to see if 6 children that are there are too dangerous, essentially, to be kept in the system. And when he gets there, he meets this man named Arthur, and they have a little romance, and it is just so good. He ends up falling for these children, and you see this man who is super grumpy turn into somebody who cares so much for the children who live on this island. And this book is just so incredible. I highly recommend it. Next, I'm going to talk about 2 classics that I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't include. One of them is my all-time favorite book, and that is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, if you haven't read Pride and Prejudice, or at least seen the 2005 movie with Keira Knightley, you have to read this book. To me, this gives perfect spring. So it tells the story of Elizabeth Bennet, and she is one of the siblings in a family of sisters, and they're not super rich, so they all need to marry well. And Elizabeth kind of is against this. She doesn't want to get married. She kind of just wants to live her life and read her books and be happy. But then she meets this man, Mr. Darcy, the man of all men, #1 book boyfriend ever to exist. Mr. Darcy is everything to me. And her and Mr. Darcy kind of get off on a really rocky foot, where he essentially tells his friend that she is like not pretty. and Elizabeth hears. So they are kind of enemies. This is like the OG enemies to lovers. Like, Elizabeth does not like him, but it's their love story, and it is so incredible and so well done. There's a reason this book is popular. There's a reason this book is a classic, and I just have to say, I feel like it's the perfect spring book. I just feel like Regency romance is like everything that the spring needs, and that is Anne of Green Gables. Now, Anne of Green Gables is such a wholesome little book. I adore this book. So in Anne of Green Gables, we follow Anne, obviously, on Prince Edward Island, that is in Canada. So in this story, we have these two adults, they're siblings, and they live together, and they want to adopt a young boy to help them work their land. But instead, they get Miss Anne Shirley, and Anne is kind of wild. They have no clue what to do with her, but she convinces them that she's who they want, like she will help them, and so she convinces them to be able to stay and live with them. And this story is a coming of age story, so it tells Anne kind of dealing with friendships, and she struggles to make friends, and she struggles through life, but she is just such a funny and wholesome character, and the setting of this book just screams spring to me, so I had to include that. The next book I want to talk about is Lisa Kleypas's Scandal in Spring. Now, this is pretty obvious. It's called Scandal in Spring. You can see why I would pick this for a spring book, but this series is everything to me. This is one of the first historical romance series I ever read, and I highly, highly recommend that you read every book in this series. They all follow like a different season. So basically, she is kind of a wallflower. Her name is Daisy, and she has kind of been looking for a husband for many years. I want to say like 3 years or something. She's been looking for a husband, and finally her parents say to her, if you can't find a husband, you're going to have to marry the man that we choose for you, Matthew. And she, of course, is very upset with this. So she's super determined to meet someone and fall in love because she does not want to give in to her parents. And she doesn't expect Matthew to be a perfect baby angel. And she doesn't expect to fall in love with him. And that is what this story tells. It is such a good historical romance. If you haven't tried historical romance, the Wallflower series by Lisa Kleypas is such a good place to start. It is just one of the best, truly one of the best. Plus, you have to see this step back. How gorgeous and springy is that? Perfection. Now, if you've already read House in the Cerulean Sea and you're looking for something that's going to scratch that same itch, you have to read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This book reminds me of that one so much, which is why they're both perfect for spring. So our main character, Mika, is a witch. She's practiced magic for forever. She even has a YouTube channel where she does like magic tutorials pretending that she's not a witch, pretending that they're fake, but she's actually able to do real magic. And she gets a letter from this estate basically asking her to come and train some young witches. Now, in this world, if witches are together, it's very dangerous. So she's not sure what to do, but she eventually accepts it, and she goes to this house where she meets all of these witches, and she kind of takes them all under her wing, and it is just so good. I definitely recommend this one, especially if you've already read House in the Cerulean Sea and loved it. The next book I want to talk about is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. Now, this book is perfect if you are into Renaissance fairs, and I feel like spring is such a perfect Renaissance fair time. This book tells the story of Emily, and she's kind of looped into helping with this Renaissance fair, and we follow her and Simon. Now, Simon's family is kind of like Renaissance Fair royalty. Like, they've been doing the Renaissance Fair for forever, and they just kind of don't get along because they hate each other's kind of outlook on life. It's very grumpy sunshine. And because he's so grumpy, she doesn't expect that when he is playing his character in the Renaissance Fair that he is like this fun, happy-go-lucky type of guy. And so she gets to see this other side of him, and this is their love story. It is so adorable. This whole series is good. I still have one more to read, I think Well Traveled, but I recommend the whole series, especially if you're someone who likes Renaissance fairs just like I do. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about Adrienne Young's adult novels, but not that many people have been talking about her young adult novels. And this one, Fable, is so good. It still tells the story of Fable. She lives on this island that her father essentially abandoned her on, so she's kind of had to take care of herself. And all she wants in life is to get off this island, find her father, and convince him that she should be able to join his pirate crew. So she enlists the help of West to get her off this island, and this story is just so good. So this is a duology, but there's also like a prequel and maybe something that comes after it. I think that there's 4 books in the series. I've only ever read the duology, Fable, and Namesake, but I highly recommend them. They're such a good spring. Something about pirates just screams spring to me. Not sure why. The next book that I'm going to talk about is The Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. Now, this whole series is something that I stand behind. They are so fun. And this one in particular tells the story of Cinnamon. And Cinnamon lives such a quiet life until her life gets completely turned upside down by the demon. And she is kind of enlisted to help him conquer this witch that has put a spell on his people. And he drags Cinnamon along for the ride, and that is the story. It is such a fun romance. It is cozy fantasy at its finest. It's hilarious. Highly recommend. The last book I want to talk about is a book that I think is criminally underrated, and that is Lovely War by Julie Berry. This book is so expertly done. So expertly done. So this book is told from the point of view of Aphrodite, and it's kind of Aphrodite looking down on these 4 individuals. Now, this book takes place over the course of World War I and World War II, and you follow 4 people from 4 different walks of life, and it is such a great story of love. I cried when I read this book. It is such a good spin on your typical Greek mythology, World War II historical fiction. It's kind of got it all, and I just highly recommend this one. Totally underrated in my book. And that is all of the books that I have to recommend for this video. If you can think of any other ones, please let me know. Spring is one of my favorite seasons to read just because I love the light, fluffy books that come when I read spring books. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!